As a pest control company, Petti Pest Control is frequently engaged to assist customers with the complexities of wildlife management. To effectively address this, a comparative analysis of residential pest control versus wildlife management is necessary. Residential pest control and wildlife management represent distinct fields within the service industry, differing fundamentally in operational structure, technical scope, and business models.
As human populations expand through housing and industrial development, a fundamental reality is the increasing consumption of natural wildlife habitats, transforming them into shopping centers, housing projects, and other infrastructure, effectively converting their homes into our own. Consequently, it is only natural that wildlife, as they are being crowded out, become more entangled with our homes and businesses. It is also natural that homeowners and business owners turn to pest control for assistance with these issues. Unfortunately, wildlife presents many challenges with which we are not as familiar, including a fair share of liability and hazards to our employees. We cannot stay in our lane when our customers request assistance. Our only choice is to educate ourselves, train ourselves, and become professionals in this ever-developing field. During this course, we will dive into the basics from inspections to service. Please pay attention and be sure to complete the final exam at the end of the course.
As a pest control technician, you are undoubtedly familiar with the protocols, procedures, and necessary tools for handling insects and rodents. While industry professionals may advise staying within our established scope, the significant demand from our clientele necessitates expanding our services. Consequently, a new category of pests has been added to our service offerings. Managing these creatures requires specialized tools, more advanced techniques, and a distinct skill set. While our experience with insects and rodents will undoubtedly be beneficial, effectively addressing wildlife issues will necessitate increased effort, expertise, and experience. However, be aware of the dangers involved with this type of work. All safety protocols must be strictly adhered to.
To effectively address wildlife control, adapting our current pest control methodologies will necessitate modifications. These modifications encompass adjustments to inspection procedures, the sales process, and the establishment of new pricing structures. Consequently, you will transition from a skilled pest control professional to a specialist in wildlife management.
You will observe commonalities between wildlife and pest control. The inspection process will serve as the critical initial step in both scenarios. Prior to the inspection, conduct account research, as you would for pest control, to verify the absence of duplicate accounts. Upon arrival at the site, conduct an on-site interview with the client. After gathering the necessary information, inform the customer, "Let me take a look," and proceed with the examination. 1. Identify the target animal or bird. 2. Inspect all potential entry points. Binoculars are essential as the roofline may be too high for a clear visual without them. 3. Determine if the level of damage necessitates the involvement of a contractor. 4. If power lines are present, they must be listed and noted on the graph. We cannot operate near power lines. Note all safety hazards, including any obstacles that may impede ladder deployment. 5. Note the required ladder type and height, as this will determine the necessary manpower. Ensure that, if a ladder is needed, there is sufficient space to adhere to the 4-to-1 rule. 6. Assess if the grade slope is stable and safe for ladder deployment. 7. Perform a full inspection of the attic, or any entry points. 8. Determine if there is a contamination issue, or if the attic is workable and does not have a cathedral ceiling. Determine if this will be a tap job. If so, calculate this in the final price. 9. Determine if the issue can be resolved. 10. Formulate a price and present the proposed solution to the customer. 11. Ensure the contract is signed and payment is collected. Additionally, provide a comprehensive working graph for all animal and bird work. 12. If bird work is involved, specify the vent types, their locations, and their sizes. A bore scope is helpful to scope the interior vent system. 13. Schedule the work through the office.
It is essential that you understand the terminology and locations associated with identifying entry points within a structure. To that end, Let us begin with a typical residential structure and examine some common entry points. This will enable you to accurately reference these areas with clients and in visual representations. Flashing around a chimney presents a common entry point when compromised by weather or animal activity. The drip edge, where the roof intersects with the gutter, is a prime area, as the house requires ventilation and animals often find entry there. Gables and gable vents are frequently entry points, both at the peaks and within the vent slots. Always inspect the soffits and fascia boards for both entry and exit points. The eaves and hip areas of the house are common areas, as are the valleys where gables attach to the roof. The ridge vent on top of the roof can also sometimes be accessed. These areas are challenging to inspect without the use of a ladder or binoculars, so please be prepared.
Here, we can examine actual examples of animals breaching the structure through these locations. It is important to remember that, in most cases, animals enter structures to gain access to the attic, either to avoid winter weather or to give birth. Once contamination begins, it needs to be addressed. Additionally, some areas are beyond our scope for repair and require contractors to address the damage. Pest control companies cannot assist until these areas are repaired by professionals.
As illustrated in the preceding presentation, our role as animal specialists is to address animal issues through removal and the prevention of reentry. This is achieved through methods such as screening, one-way doors, and in the case of bats, the use of bat cones or similar devices. We do not provide carpentry services, and it is essential to clearly communicate this to homeowners. As an inspector, it is your responsibility to provide a detailed prescription outlining the solution for the client's problem. The technician's role is to execute this prescription by performing the necessary work. Any inaccuracies or omissions in the prescription can lead to difficulties for the technician, potentially resulting in job cancellations, unsatisfactory outcomes, or costly errors for both the client and the company. Here are the fundamental steps. 1. Conduct a comprehensive interview with the client. 2. Thoroughly inspect the entire structure, both interior and exterior. 3. Identify and photograph all potential entry points, capturing both close-up and distant views. 4. If ladder use is anticipated, photograph the grade relative to the structure to illustrate any potential challenges for ladder deployment. 5. Photograph the attic interior, noting any signs of contamination. 6. Ensure accurate measurements and create a working graph for both the client and the technician. 7. Perform a second walkthrough to identify and address any potential hazards for the technicians, such as electrical lines or unsafe grade for ladders. 8. Determine whether the work requires the expertise of a carpenter. If uncertain, consult with a supervisor.
As an inspector or technician, you should recognize unsafe work conditions, such as ladder stacking. In this instance, an attic is infested with bats, contaminating the insulation and serving as a habitat for the animals and their young. Initially, the job may appear to require either a two-ladder setup or a one-ladder approach, assuming internal screening of the gable vent is not feasible. However, a two-ladder setup is not a viable option due to the uneven pitch of the primary roof, which would create an unsafe environment for ladder placement. Furthermore, a one-ladder approach would necessitate the technician hanging from the peak to screen the gable, which is also an unacceptable safety risk. Unfortunately, these types of jobs have been contracted in the past. As the inspector, it is your responsibility to evaluate how the work can be safely performed given these challenges. If you have any doubts about the safety of the proposed work, please contact a manager for guidance.
Let's conduct a thorough review of the 4-to-1 rule for extension ladders. Initially, document the type of ladder required for the task on the work order. This is crucial for various reasons, including determining the appropriate number of technicians to assign to the job. Any ladder requirement of 24 feet or greater should be designated as a 2-technician assignment. It is imperative to calculate the required height and apply the 4-to-1 rule to determine the necessary base distance for ladder setup. Ensure there is sufficient space. For every 4 feet of vertical ladder extension, the base must extend outward 1 foot. For instance, to reach 20 feet, the ladder base should be positioned 5 feet away from the wall to achieve the correct angle. Furthermore, identify any potential barriers, such as trees, fences, or other structures that might impede adherence to the 4-to-1 rule. The inspector is responsible for ensuring the accuracy of the prescribed safety measures. One hack used in the field by old carpenters to achieve the 4-to-1 rule is to place your feet flat at the base of the ladder and extend your arms straight out while standing up. Your hands should reach the rungs of the ladder exactly. Personally, I would use a measuring device to be sure. Another point often missed is that when an extension ladder is deployed to access the roof, the ladder must extend at least 3 feet above the rim of the roof.
This presentation is critical, as overlooking safety protocols during inspections could result in fatalities. Whenever assigning tasks involving ladders, it is mandatory to document and record the presence of any power lines connected to the structure. It is impossible to definitively distinguish between power lines, phone lines, or cable wires. Therefore, all lines attached to the structure must be treated as potential power lines, and no risk should be taken. No employee is permitted to work near any power lines. If power lines are located within 20 feet of the work area, the power must be immediately and completely de-energized, without exception. Furthermore, the use of metal ladders is strictly prohibited in the vicinity of any suspected power lines. All lines attached to the structure must be clearly noted on diagrams and documented with photographs, accompanied by strong safety warnings to prevent technicians from encountering potentially hazardous situations. Be aware of the grade the ladder will need to be deployed on. While leveling devices are used in some cases, they are a risk and should be avoided or used only when a manager has inspected the site and approved the deployment. Just when you think things like this would never happen, you see it and realize how crazy people can be when trying to get a job done. Don't be one of these.
Let's take one last review before you take your exam. The checklist. 1. What type of wildlife? 2. Inspection graph depicting entry points. 3. Photograph all entry points. For what type of slope or setup challenges is there? 5. Note any and all safety concerns. 6. What type and what size ladder do you need? 7. Can we do the job or is a carpenter needed? 8. List if one-way door is required. 9. Upload all photos and graph. 10. Confirm the price. Wildlife work can be difficult. Make sure we are not putting our people in danger and that we are pricing the job correctly.